Have you ever met someone who's just a walking contradiction? You know, a person who is an absolute powerhouse of a leader, but at the same time, intensely private. Well, today, we're going to dive deep and decode one of the most fascinating and complex personality types out there. We're going to see what really makes a true high performer tick. So, what really powers a top performer? Is it just raw ambition? Is it, charisma? The real-world personality assessment we're about to break down presents this incredible puzzle that forces us to look way, way deeper than just the surface.
All right, let's meet our case study. This person's profile is labeled the Commander, and according to the data, they are driven by just sheer determination. They hold everyone, and especially themselves, to these incredibly high standards. And this is where things start to get really interesting.
Okay, so check this out. This is the core paradox right here. This leader scores in the 99th percentile for effectiveness. I mean, they lead better than 99% of people, yet, get this, they only score in the 10th percentile for extroversion. How is that even possible? How can someone be such a powerful leader while also being a deep, deep introvert? On the surface, it just doesn't add up.
And just when you think you've got a handle on it, the puzzle gets deeper. Those contradictions? Yeah, they don't stop there. The profile throws another set of scores at us that seem to completely cancel each other out.
Get this, a score of 91% for toughness and 94% for nurturing. I mean, both are completely off the charts. How can you be both of those things at the same time? It feels like they're polar opposites. This isn't just a leader anymore. This is a total enigma.
Okay, to crack this code, we're going to need a key. And that key, it turns out, is a personality framework known as the architect, or INTJ. This specific archetype gives us a blueprint that might just explain these seemingly impossible contradictions.
And this is a big deal, because we're talking about a really rare personality type, only about 2% of the entire population, and among women, even rarer. So we're not just talking about any old personality here. We're looking at the blueprint for a true strategic mastermind.
So how do we know all this? Well, it comes from the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, or MBTI. And look, this isn't about putting people in a box. It's just a framework for understanding someone's cognitive wiring. And for the architect, that wiring is introverted, intuitive, thinking, and judging. A very specific combination that creates this incredibly strategic mind.
At the heart of it all is something called introverted intuition, which one source literally calls their superpower. Think of it as this uncanny ability to process information behind the scenes, connecting dots no one else sees to basically predict the future. This is the engine that drives their genius.
So what does that look like in practice? Well, these are your classic architect traits. They're often called the chess players of life. They're driven by pure logic, super independent, and they are always looking for a way to make things better. For them, competence and knowledge, that's everything. It's the ultimate currency. All right, here we go. This is the aha moment. We've got the confusing profile on one hand and the architect's blueprint on the other. Let's lay them over each other and just watch those contradictions dissolve.
And there it is. Look at this. That 99% leadership with only 10% extroversion makes total sense now. They lead with their vision and their competence, not by being the life of the party. That 99% determination, it's not about climbing the ladder or chasing status. In fact, this profile scored a 1% on that. It's all about an internal drive to improve. And the 98% humility? Yeah, they know they can be wrong. They just want the best idea to win, period. And that crazy tough nurturing paradox? They are tough as nails on ideas and systems, but incredibly nurturing and loyal to the very small group of people they let in. See? The puzzle just fits.
You know, this quote from the NeuroLaunch article just hits the nail on the head. INTJs are the chess players of life, always thinking several moves ahead. It's not just about being smart, right? It's about seeing the entire board, playing out the future in your mind. And that's exactly what we saw in the data.
But of course, no personality is perfect. For the architect, their greatest strengths, that incredible drive, that logic, that vision, are also the source of their biggest challenges.
There's a real price to be paid for all that perfectionism.
The sources actually call this dynamic a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because that drive for excellence is what powers these amazing achievements. But it's a curse because that same perfectionism can lead straight to burnout or just massive frustration when the messy, real world doesn't follow their perfect logical plan.
And that obsession with logical purity, it has another side effect. It's what makes them brilliant, yeah, but it can also make navigating the emotional, messy world of people pretty challenging.
Because of this intense focus on logic, they can come across as arrogant or cold. They get really impatient with things that seem inefficient or illogical, and they can sometimes just completely miss the emotional stuff, the nuances. So they might say something that's unintentionally blunt or critical, not because they're trying to be mean, but because they're just focused on the fact.
Okay, so what's the big takeaway here? What can we learn from the architect? Whether this sounds exactly like you or maybe someone you work with, understanding the blueprint is everything. So let's get practical.
If you've got an architect in your life, think of this as your cheat sheet. First, be direct and logical. Just skip the small talk and get to the point. They'll appreciate it. Second, value their insights. Don't just brush off their ideas, even if they seem out there. Third, don't be afraid to debate. They actually respect people who challenge them with good data. And finally, and this is a big one, give them space. They need that alone time to think and do their best work.
And look, if you only remember one thing from all this, let it be this. It's all about their motivation. Their actions, from the bluntness to the crazy planning. It's not about ego. It's all driven by this deep, deep desire for competence and for making things better. For them, life is just one big optimization problem.
So we've decoded the architect. We've peeled back all